Welcome back to Do It Myself Garage. Let's go pick up a project car today. Not like I need one, but as long as it's as good as what it should be, we'll be coming back with a car here in a little bit. 63 Buick Special, we got her on the trailer. 3 horsepower, we actually rolled it on there. Just gotta see if these tires will hold up for 90 miles, but bumpers are inside. It's a sharp looking car. I'll give you more of a tour of it when we get home. Alright, we got her home in one piece. It is missing one hubcap, unfortunately. Looks like the right front one's dented anyway. Who knows what I'll put for wheels on here, but any rate, I got her home, one piece. She's a really solid car. Someone has already done some of the body work. I don't know how much Bondo's in it. I really don't care. I'm gonna fix it up, paint it myself, probably a baby blue. I'll put a picture here of what my vision is. And then we're gonna drive it. Engine should be the 215, what was it called? Fireball. Said they had it running last year. It's an automatic transmission. I just need a front seat and to get the engine running, and we've got a running and driving car. Looks to be all original drivetrain, automatic transmission. Everything's here. It's in park, sitting. I pushed it in the driveway with my Mitsubishi. So we're gonna clean it up. I'm gonna take the back seat out of it. There is no front seat, so I'm gonna have to snag one up somewhere. I take the rear seat out of it so I don't fill my garage up with mice where the GTO is. And we're going to get her hosed down. She was sitting outside. I'll be honest with you, I paid $1,200 for it. So, they said it did run, ran when parked, but it ran last year. One of the neighbors came over and commented about how they had ridden in it last year while I was there picking it up. So I have no doubt that it did run recently. But they just ran out of time and money to put into it. So, here we go. Let's get her cleaned up a little bit and see what we can find. And it looks like there's a little bit of rust, or maybe it's not rust, maybe it's mold. Some mold coming through here. And I want to kind of take care of that while I can. Let me show what we got here on the roof. Look how that Scotch-Brite. Look how well that did. Like, uh-oh, better get Mako. Look at that, definite line. I'm going to keep doing that with the rest of the car. That is an absolutely night and day difference. Look at all the mold that it got off the hood. Still little spots here and there, but about 90%. Then she's going to need some touch-up before paint. Probably have to sand half this primer off of here, touch up some of the spots that are already bubbling with rust already. Take the special decal off so I can actually paint under it. They didn't do a very good job on the door handles, so I'm going to redo those. So, oh, and they didn't do the center post. They didn't bother with the post, so I'll have to do that. So yeah, it's going to be some work. That's alright. I needed a project for the winter, keep me out of trouble. Alright, so Fireball V6 says it right on there. That's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. It appears to be a points distributor, coil. There's fluid in the power steering, there's fluid in the transmission, there's engine oils there. I've got antifreeze. I'm all set. The engine turns over, by hand. I haven't turned it over all the way. Let's put the battery on charge and we'll come back in the morning when we have a little more light. Roxy, you gonna help me bring the car in? Okay, come over here. You put her in neutral now, okay? Put her in neutral. Let me know when I've gone too far. That was a little far. Hello? Well, she rolls forward quite that far. I want a little room to work. But I want it back as far as I can. Close garage door. Alright, I'm going to put a board behind the wheel just in case I'm messing around with something and I take it out of here. I don't mind if it rolls forward, but I don't want it to destroy my garage door. So I found a whole bunch of a mouse nest up in there, but this is all hollow along here, but there's nowhere for it to run out. So I sprayed in there today, but the water's probably still in there. There's no way for it to run out. So this is the bump stop for the hood, where that bumps up against. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole right here, probably about 3/8 of an inch on both sides. And that way that water will drain out. And then anything that I can flush through there, I can get the drain out as well. And then I can fluid film it, get a bunch of oil up in there, and get all this kind of treated so it doesn't rust. So I kind of suspected that they kind of painted a turd a little bit, but for 1,200 bucks, not that big of a deal. But you can see a little bit of rust here. So who knows how long it has been since they put this primer on. It might have been a while. So we'll take care of all that before we paint it. I'm not going for a show quality car here. Just want a family driver. The rest of it, like I said, it looks pretty rust free. I think I mentioned that guy right there. So I think a license plate would cover that really, really well. And then by the hinges here, there's a little bit of weakness going on by the hinges on both sides. Kind of hard to see in the dark here. But when I take the hood off, I'll address that and reinforce that. All right, so the main goal for this video, obviously brought the car home, did an initial assessment. Let's see, as part of that assessment, if we can get the engine running. Now, I don't know if you can see, there's wires running everywhere. There's wires that are cut. These are just for the heater, for the fan. So yeah, I want to be really careful before I hook power to this. This is all just horrible mangled tape, and I don't want to plug anything in and have a chance of causing any type of a fire. So I'm going to probably disconnect most of that and leave just the ones I need to get the engine going. So I was told, okay, so this goes to the coil. So this should go to positive. Power our coil. This should be the crank, this should be the start. And this, I don't know what this is. I've got fuel coming up. My guess is we probably don't have any spark, because that would be unusual that those points were any good at this point. We still recording? Good. All right. Did get fuel coming up to the fuel filter though, and it looked good. Good enough for what we're going to try to do here. Not getting any spark at all. There. Okay. So let's try to file those points. I have that disconnected. I don't want to get myself with that. Emery cloth only has grit on one side, so gotta get both sides. Okay, let's try it again. All right, let me grab my tester and see if I can find ground. Okay, so I'm testing the contact here, and the base of it, ground, top of it, ground, and then when I kick it out, no ground. But I don't think I'm getting the power down there. So I've got a good ground, but I don't believe the power is getting to the points. I was a little reluctant to hook some of this stuff up because this wiring is, oy. All right, I went ahead and cut this wire that came off the coil that goes to whatever key there is. Who knows if that works or not anyway. I cut it short so I wouldn't try to splice it later on. So now I have power, but I also cleaned up the post on here. I had power in the middle, but no power on the outside. So I think I had a really bad connection there too. So it's a combination of things. But now I flicked the points and I got some sparks. So the problem is now this starter is not happy. And I don't think this battery, well, I know this battery is not very good. So let's see if we can get her to just fire. I'd just be happy if she just made a sputter. Don't even have to start. All right, let's put a little bit of juice in the carb. Although, as I saw yesterday, I had a little bit of gas come up to the fuel pump here. Just put a little in there. She is in park. See, coil has power now. Ta-da! Let's see if this 12-volt battery, it's literally 12, not 12.6. She's a little low, but let's see if I can get it to anything. Come on. All right, well. Woo! See that smoke? It's just toasty down there. Smoking. I don't know if you can see the smoke. Oh, that battery cable is hot. Okay. Well, my gosh. Looks like this is all hooked up with a alligator clip literally on the starter. Now that I'm looking down there. Yeah, that's what they have hooked for my starter. So I wonder why I don't have a good connection. Might be nothing wrong with the starter at all. You can see the plastic on that thing is just melting because I don't think it's the right gauge wire. So, all right, well, we'll look at the gauge of wire they have running to the starter. That's it. That's not starter wire. That's not high enough gauge. But we're getting there little by little. So definitely want to get this jacked up, get that wiring to the starter proper, whatever rigging we got going on over here, get the proper gauge cables and wires, and then we should be in a little bit better shape. Okay, good news. I have not been working on the car without you. Basically 20 bucks a piece for these, so keep that in mind on your budget. Okay, so this is the one that runs to the starter. Can you believe that diameter? They ran that to the starter. And believe it or not, watch this. I don't know if I can get it off of there. It's just on there with an alligator clip. Ay vey. Come on. Yeah. It's just on there with alligator clip. I wonder what that smoky smell was. What do you think? Come on, people, do better. Okay, so I could not find a red one like this that was the right length. So black it'll be. At least I got the black and the red on the battery. You know, those aren't mixed up. And this will run down to the starter. And I kind of wanted to get a little bit longer one so I could run it through. There's a guide back here on the fender well, and that I'm sure is supposed to be for the cable. Now normally what you do is you run the hot from here all the way down there and shoot it. You know, I couldn't really find a shorter one. I'm gonna go with this longer one for now. And then I have a lug I can put on here. And once I get everything going and I want to shorten it, I have another lug I can cut this and put it on here. Because ideally you don't want this rubbing because it'll rub through and then short out. So you want it going through things that are insulated. This is supposed to be have a rubber insulation at some point. I'll make sure that gets all. Yeah, this is the garbage that we are getting nowadays to work on our cars. And it's frustrating. It is cracked. Just tightening it down. I didn't even put it on there that hard. Okay, so now, all right, so I gotta get the ground off of the block here. And just like I did on the other stuff over here, we're going to clean all the surfaces to make sure we get a good contact. We want a good ground. Be sure you always drop your stuff at least a half a dozen times. You can see now. So got that guy out of the way. So yeah, clean this off. Maybe a steel brush would be a little better for that. I was gonna wire brush this whole face off so I could see the numbers on the block anyway. Okay, so that's wire brushed off. This bolt on the alternator, that was kind of loose. Brush the back of this. There we go. Sandpaper. Both surfaces. So this is what I'm working with right here. I've got this in between the block and the bracket. Everything is sanded and polished down. So we should have a good contact. This will be my ground to my block. And I see the ground strap. I just looked in the back there. Looks like the ground strap from the engine to the frame is shot. So we'll have to run a new one of those, or otherwise we'll have other problems with other things as we go. Not a lot of electronics on these, but you want to have good grounds between your body and your engine and all that. So otherwise power will go wherever there's the least resistance, and it's not always desirable spots that it'll take. I'll worry about getting it tight and didn't worry about what it looked like. There. There's no reason for that coil to be slammed into this heater thing over here. Now I have a good ground. I have a good power. And now I have to go figure out how they wired that stupid starter, because that other wire I was using, that was not right. That was too much power going through that. When I was playing around with it before, this was hooked up. This goes to the power of the fuse box and stuff. So I don't want to have any fires or anything, because I don't know how, so far the wiring I have not been impressed with. So gonna go ahead and hook up just the stuff that I need to crank the engine over, make sure I have spark, and see if we can get it to run, and then I'll sort out the rest of the wiring. All right. I'll either be able to use this footage or I won't. Okay. Alright, I think that solenoid might be on its last leg because even one of the bolts that holds the solenoid is shot. So, we're going to try this. I've got the hot cable running down there. Got this hot cable here. If I touch this, it should not crank over unless I screwed something up. Okay, so I charged this battery last night, so with any luck we're in good shape. So now this is only solenoid power now and not battery power running through that clip down there. Well, it actually has the right size wire. And I got power to the alternator. Let's put a little bit of gas in it. Fuel in the carb here. Yeah. All right. That is coil power. And here we go. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Yeah, let's try that again. It's a little rattly. Well, that started way easier than I thought it was going to. All right, I do not know what we have for oil pressure. Boy, there's a lot of noise in that upper part. You know what? Let's let it run for a little bit more. The oil did look good. Let's let it run for a little bit more. Okay, come on. Coil's not getting warm at all. Well, maybe a little warm. So we'll leave that there for now. Okay, so we got that wiring fixed. Let me go check the ignition switch real quick and see how badly they got that messed up. Alright, I've started and stopped it several times today. Making a list of things that I need. And I forgot to check when I had it running earlier. Is it charging? So probably not a bad idea to do that real quick and see if we have a viable charging system or not. The alternator's any good. Okay. Alright, so battery voltage right now is 12.4. Safely say it is not charging. So I need to investigate as to whether that is it's wired up wrong down there, which as we've seen could entirely be the case. Alright, I will have to figure that out. Entirely possible. I have a non-working alternator. Not a big deal. Alright, so where we last left off, we had an alternator that's not charging. So not too worried about that right now, because the voltage regulator is not hooked up, and I don't have a resistive load running to the inside. So we're gonna have to work on that. In the meantime, I want to see if it drives. I want to get it in gear, see if it goes down the road or not. So that's my main goal, and then I can come back to the other stuff, get all the rest of the wires hooked up, the resistive load to the coil so that we don't burn the coil out, all that stuff. But I really want to see if it'll shift and everything, so I know if I need to pull this engine out of the car, because if I do, now's the time to get started on that before winter or during the winter, so I can have all winter to work on it. So let's see where it's kind of assessing where we're at on things. So let's get it so I can drive it. All right, so it has been several days. Let's go ahead and see if we can get this thing to start. All right, power's hooked up, coil's hooked up, wire's hooked up to the key. Let's see if I can start it with the key. It does not turn off with the key because the coil's hot all the time. I think it'll be good enough for a test drive. Just don't want to burn this coil out because she's perfectly good. And I heard the transmission go whoop. So I think we're building some pressure down in there. Check this fluid again. Says she's on full. You know, you're supposed to check with hot in neutral, but at least she's got fluid in there. That's the main thing. I didn't do anything to that, by the way. I didn't hit the pedal. I didn't put gas in it. Nothing. I just hit the key and she fired right up, and it hasn't been started for a week. So that's pretty crazy. Let's get something to sit on inside so we can try to drive this thing. All right, I've rigged up the seat. The ignition should work. It'll turn it on, but it won't turn it off. Let's see if I can back it out into the driveway under its own power. Oh, oh, lovely. Oh, great. I just realized I don't think I can open the door from here. Good thing I realized that before I pulled it shut. Ha! Oh, I can get the other one open. I can get out over there. But I gotta roll this window down. I can't. Can't even pull the door shut. Let's roll that window down. Alright. Vice grip will work for now. I got a vice grip rigged up. Alright. Let's see if we can start it up and back it up. no reverse. And maybe once she gets a little bit of heat in her, fluid going around, maybe she'll work. So I'm just gonna point the camera at the road here and you'll see me go. She drove down and back, still got no reverse though. So we'll pull her back into the garage and then we'll have to make a plan. But she runs decent. Needs a little work. Need a seat in there. That was kind of uncomfortable just sitting on a box and a blanket. But yeah, she has no reverse. And even the drive is a little wonky. Alright, so somewhat successful first drive. Don't have any reverse. I have just a little bit of brakes. In fact, enough that when I pressed on them, they kind of stuck a little bit, so I'm sure that's the soft lines. So it's going to take me a little bit of work to get to all that. The main thing I wanted to see is if it would drive. So like I say, I do have drive, but I don't have reverse. All right, so we answered the question. Does it run? Does it drive? Forward. So unfortunately, no reverse. I'm going to try running it through a few more heat cycles. Maybe add some transmission fluid. We'll see. I'm going to do a little more research on this, see what happens when the reverse goes out. This transmission is different because it uses a torque converter for some of the functions of the transmission. It's really weird. This is right before they came out with the turbo hydramatics. So this was Buick's own deal. If I can't get the transmission to work, that might be kind of a death sentence for this whole drivetrain. Because there's really nothing else that'll bolt to it. So I might end up replacing the entire thing with a 3.8 liter out of something else. But we will see. Meantime, I'm super happy. $1,200 invested in the car, plus some cables and whatnot, and I got it running. So the engine does run. Again, it only goes into drive. The brakes kind of work, so I have a good starting point. So I'm planning on taking this to back to the 50s here in Minnesota. The cutoff is 1964, so that's why I bought this car, because it was older than 64. And I would not mind doing duct tape drags. They did the poverty tour this year with Pole Barn Garage and all those guys. I would have loved to have done it. The GTO is a little too nice to take on that, and about 10 miles, 12 miles to the gallon. These are supposedly get 25 miles to the gallon. It's a little bit older car, a little bit more in line with the you know, throw it together and shoestring budget. I kind of blew the budget on the GTO because that was my dream car. But with this, let's get it going for what we can. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at. I will keep you updated week by week. Facebook, Instagram. I usually post stuff on there, shorts here and there, letting you know what I'm doing. But yeah, this should be a fun car. I'll got to dig into the drivetrain a little bit more. So thanks for following along. Like, share, subscribe, all those things. And like I said, I'm on those other platforms as well. Reach out to me if you have some suggestions on this car. If you've dealt with this transmission before, let me know. I'm open to suggestions. There's not a lot of information on the internet about this car, at least videos. So I have to do some reading. Thanks everybody. See you in the next video. Bye.